Strap in, fantasy fanatics. It's week 7, and stars are slumping while some unknowns are on fire. Are we hunting for bargains or cashing out on overachievers? Brace yourself for an action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. You can find me on Twitter or X or wherever you may want to call it, Matthew_Ane. If you're not watching on YouTube, my last name is spelled A as in Apple, H as in Harry, N as in Nancy, E as in Echo. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. And also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you may listen. It really helps out the show. And honestly, it's just a great thing to support us. So thank you so much. And if you guys want a little bit more than what we offer on this 30-minute podcast, I really, would say check us out on the Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. We offer waiver wire rankings and, what do you call it? Prospect call-ups and so much more on there that'll just give you the extra leg up on your league. And, we do give a little bit more content than we do here. So you might want to check it out. You get a free 2 weeks. The link is in the description below. And another thing too, guys, we're starting off this giveaway. All right. You want one of these hats? You got to do one of two things or both. And you got to do it all week, all month long. Okay. Every time you do this, you're going to get an entry. And it's very simple. You share on X or on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, and you tag us in it and you share it, we'll see it. I'm going to write you down on your username and you're going to get an entry. And every time you do it for both platforms, each one, you're going to get an entry. And on June 14th, we're going to be announcing who gets one of these hats. I'm going to mail it right to you. So I'm going to DM you. You're going to get it, and it's going to be a good time. I promise. These hats are sweet. You don't want to miss out, and it's very simple. Just share our social media posts, and we appreciate it. Every time you share, I promise you'll get an entry. So there's a bunch of times to do it. So get in on it now. All right, guys. And we got a great episode for you today. I know it's not a regular routine. Normally, if we miss a Monday, we'll pretty much just open up with a waiver wire. But Dom wanted to be a part of that. He couldn't make it today. So instead, I'm sticking with our normal schedule, and I'm going to just roll into trade for and aways. And there's a bunch of good names. We are going to put out 5 episodes just as, housekeeping, whatnot. We just had to take off yesterday because we normally record a day before. So it would have been Sunday, and that was Mother's Day, and wasn't doing that to my wife. Dom wasn't doing that to his mom. So, we're going to roll it right out until Saturday, and we're going to be hanging out all the way through. So when you're mowing your lawn on Saturday, you're going to have something to listen to. So with that being said, guys, let's hop in. Let's start talking. We got a bunch of great names for you today, and this is one that I really feel we need to capitalize now because people are feeling like disappointed and, really like annoyed by this too. And that's Walker Buehler, right? So one thing about fantasy community in general, especially baseball, is a lot of people like to hedge and overreact to things, right? And Walker Buehler's first outing coming off TJ, first time pitching in like a year and a half, was atrocious. But I mean, I expected that. I know that other people probably expected that as well. And also expecting that it may take a couple starts before he starts looking like, the possible number one pit SP. But first couple ones going to be rough, and this is the perfect time to take advantage on these guys hedging and being upset. I stashed him forever. Oh my God. Well, here we go. We're going to go and try and throw an offer out there of somebody that's quasi performing or somebody that you got off the waiver wire that you can then throw their way to then go and acquire Walker Buehler, who in 3 to 4 starts can completely turn around and be potentially an SP1 for the rest of the year. Like I believe in Walker Buehler wholeheartedly. Others may disagree and may not say, oh, he has SP1 upside anymore, but I think he does. Like the kid has done it quite a few times. In 2021 specifically, like 207 innings, he had 212 strikeouts, he had a 2.47 ERA, he had a sub 1 WHIP. Like you don't just go from that to what we saw today. Even last year, I feel he was fighting through injuries And he didn't have a bad year. I mean, not last year. He didn't pitch last year. In 2022, he didn't have a bad year, right? He just didn't have a good year. And I think he was dealing with the elbow injury throughout that year and why he had such an inflated ERA of 4.02. He has been good since he's been in the bigs outside of 2017 when he got his first like 8 games, which I'm not going to, hold against him. 18, he was good. 19, he was good. 2020, he was fantastic. 2021 was absolutely outrageous. So there is just a long track record of Walker Buehler being fantastic. And I can't see his one horrendous start of a 7.36 ERA where he gave up 6 runs and 3 home runs in one game, which, guys, the last time he played, he gave up 8 home runs in 65 innings, and he did 3 in a single game. We know he's rusty. I don't foresee it going to happen like this every single game. He's going to bounce back. So that being said, go out and trade for him. He's my number one trade for player, like without a doubt. Go out and try and acquire Walker Buehler. Okay. Now, this next guy, he's been underperforming outrageously, and it may just be said that, hey, man, this is a hangover from hitting all those home runs, and that's Matt Olson. Matt Olson, this is a little bit uncharacteristic for him, right? Matt Olson starts off the year pretty hot normally, in my opinion. I'm double checking my facts here, but Matt Olson doesn't go from hitting like nearly 60 home runs to hitting 3 to start the year. Like, it's kind of ugly. I don't foresee this being legitimate. Like, this isn't how it's going to be for the rest of the year. I promise you. He's going to bounce back. He's too good of a talent. And yeah, you look at it like maybe he's slower in the home runs department before he gets going. Like in 22, he had 2 in April and March, and then May he unleashed, and then it was just a full blown buildup since. But I mean, even if that's on par, then I'm okay with it because in 2022 he walked away with how many home runs here? Why do I hate my computer? Here we go. He walked away with 34 home runs, 103 ribs, and 86 runs. And honestly, that was his first year on the team. So I think that there's more to come. He has 4 so far going into the season, and it was only 3 in the month of April. I think there's better months to come. The batting average is going to come up because I'm going to tell you what, he improved on his plate discipline astronomically. Between 2022 and 2023, he had 75 walks to 170 strikeouts in 2022. In 2023, he had 104 walks to 167 strikeouts. That is a significant plate discipline improvement. So the batting average isn't going to be bad either. I promise you it's going to be a lot better. Now, yes, he's striking out a little bit more than 50% of the time. I think there's better of that to come through. He is just battling through this slump. And the second he figures it out is the second we start seeing Matt Olson just explode. I think it's around the corner. Go out and acquire him. You probably can get him for a little bit cheaper than you normally could. He's going in late first round, early second round pick. And he usually would be untouchable at first base, but right now there is a chance to go out and get him, especially if you're in a position where you're in first place, you're in top place, your team is performing, and you have a good first baseman that you didn't pay high price for. You might want to float them that way, trying to acquire Matt Olson and see what you can do, and kind of make something out of nothing. And then when Matt Olson starts performing, it's going to be an instant boost to your team. So trying to go out there, do this now, and before he turns that corner and becomes absolutely untouchable and untradeable, do it now before the iron gets way too hot for that. I promise. And guys, I know I spent a lot of time in that intro, and I apologize, but I promise we're going to be rocking and rolling through the rest of this episode. I have Ozzy Albies coming up, Grayson Rodriguez, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, all these names, and you're not sure what to do with it, but I will find out what to do with them right after this. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is incredibly user-friendly as well. You can make your selections and submit your entries in less than 60 seconds, so get those last-minute picks in. As the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, here's some rock-solid picks for you. Opt for Ryan Mountcastle to have higher than point 0.5 total bases in his next game. Opt for Shohei Ohtani to have higher than point 0.5 home runs in his next outing. We all know that's going to happen. And opt for CJ Abrams to have higher than point 0.5 stolen bases in his next game. Dude steals bases like crazy. I feel it's a sure thing at that point. Lock it in. Download the app today and use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcasters Network, your team every day. Guys, also, we're introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. This season, rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of those fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext. Your path to victory begins. Subscribe now and elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. And guys, like I mentioned at the top, you get 2 weeks free when you join. So definitely check us out. The link is in the description below. And don't forget about that giveaway. All you got to do is share a social media post starting today. So get out there and try and get that hat. But all right, let's hop back in it. Let's get at it and let's start talking some baseball again. And like I said, Ozzy Albies, what are we doing with him? We're trying to buy low. Ozzy Albies, man, I have him in a couple leagues. You know, he went on that IL and honestly hasn't really gone back to the early form that he was performing at the beginning of the season. So, maybe there's a little fatigue. Maybe he's still trying to, figure it out. He got a little cold. Last couple weeks, last month has been pretty ugly. He has 7 runs, a bomb, 6 ribs, a stolen base, batting 217 on the month. Prior to that, he was rocking and rolling. He was batting like 300. He was hitting the ball like crazy. So I obviously see a path for him to return to the norm and be his normal Ozzy Albies self. My number one second baseman going to year, excluding Mookie Betts, um, because Albies is a true second baseman. But anyway, Albies is fantastic and he should be acquired. Now, as an Albies owner, I can pretty much say like he's going to be a little bit harder to get, but he's not going to be as hard to get as he normally would be. So like, like you could go out there and try and excuse me, apologize. Go out there and probably offer a guy a second baseman that's performing like that really isn't like somebody you believe in that's kind of like performing now and like throwing a couple other things and two like a perfect guy. Got it. Christopher Morel. Morel is killing it, but he's very streaky. So he'll go like 2 weeks without doing anything and then just go off for like 2 weeks at like 4 home runs and then just call it a day. Like Morel is just so all over the place that like when Ozzy Albies isn't performing, and if this person is in a bad spot and they're losing weeks and they're falling behind, they might need to make a move. You slide a Morel and another piece. You probably can get the deal done because you're giving them a guy that is performing, who is also performing right now, and taking away a guy that yes it had higher draft capital, but isn't performing. They need to make that move. This is like in a team that's performing, like that is at the top of your lineup, like at the top of your standings. They're probably going to hold on Albies, but look to take advantage of guys that are struggling that have Ozzy Albies. They probably will consider it. And it may not just take those two guys. You may have to give up a little bit more, but it's okay because Albies will be worth it. So, any questions? Put a what do you call it? Your question in the review section on Apple or on YouTube, and we'll totally be able to answer if you got questions on trades for Ozzy Albies or any of these guys. All right, let's move on. Let's talk Grayson Rodriguez. Now, this one's a little more funkier, right? He's coming off an injury for starters, and I don't know if people are since they've been holding him and whatnot are ready to give up on Grayson, let alone if they've been holding him. They're gonna be like, we've been holding him for so long. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna get rid of him. And it's not like he was atrocious he was performing pretty well in some starts before he got hurt. Like his first outing against the Angels, 1.5 ERA with 9 Ks. Second one against Pitt when Pitt was still rolling, 7 Ks at 2.84 ERA. Even Boston 3.18 ERA. Minnesota 3 ERA. Then got hit pretty hard against the Angels again with a 14.5 ERA. And then before he got hurt against the Yankees, went out there and gave up no runs. Like Grayson Rodriguez has been good, but if somebody is dealing with a lot of injuries in pitching, and we're all feeling it, or has a couple of underperformers, Grayson Rodriguez is a fantastic guy. You're gonna have to pay a little something. You're gonna have to pay more than what we're gonna talk about later. But you're gonna have to pay a little something, but you're not gonna have to pay way too much. Whereas if he was rocking and rolling with that young, tag on him, he'd be absolutely untouchable. So right now is like the perfect time to try and go and acquire him if you can, and see if you can go and pull one off and see if you can add this level of ace to your rotation and possibly put your team over the edge. So Grayson Rodriguez, try and acquire him as soon as possible because I think he's due back about this week. So with that being said, let's move on to our last, you know, guy we're trying to trade for here, and that's Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery this season, well, we kind of saw this coming too. It's been ugly. 23 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, a 4.7 ERA, and a 1.3 whip. But here's the thing. Montgomery doesn't go from doing what he did last year, where he had a 3.2 ERA and 166 strikeouts through 188 innings with 10 wins, to this 4.7 ERA with 10 strikeouts through 23 innings. Like it doesn't add up. The math isn't there. And yes, his FIP, Philly independent pitching, is pretty much aligned with his ERA. But what I will say is he had a late start spring, obviously because he signed so late. Didn't get rushed back like Snell, but still had some time to then work up. And it's only minor league, and he still needs to do a little bit more to get there. So right now, you probably can get him pretty cheap because he wasn't a high draft capital like he normally would have been. Two, he also would have been is just a little bit cheaper just based off of how he's performing. So go out and acquire him. You could probably throw a real nice low ball offer. Many of these guys that are kind of overperforming, and probably walk away with him and a piece because Jordan Montgomery is really just looking ugly, and maybe people aren't buying what he did last year. So Jordan Montgomery is a must target in my opinion right now. Let's go out there and see if you can go ahead and trade for him. All right, and I'm going to sneak one guy in here before the break, and it's Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease, we're trying to sell high on right now. We're trying to, trade away as best as we can and kind of capitalize on it. Dylan Cease is actually having a really good season. Like, I can't even lie. Everything looks good about him. So I would understand if you tell me, Matt, you're crazy, I'm not trading him. And I would understand. Don't get me wrong. But Cease is going to carry a lot of value right now. We're going to be able to capitalize and hear me out. So and I'm going to read off his stat line on the year first. 49.1 innings pitched. He has 60 Ks. He has a 2.19 ERA, a 0.75 whip, and his FIP is 2.26. Like, great stat line. I'm impressed. Looks good. Right on me 2022, where he went completely off and won the Cy Young. Now, here's the deal, right? And this is the thought process. So hear me out. Dylan Cease is performing and looking like his 2022 form when he was being picked super early in drafts. Now, you can take this, and you didn't have to pay a whole lot, and you can go and upgrade. Now, Matt, what are you talking about? He's performing. You would be downgrading. But no, you kind of wouldn't. Because what if Dylan Cease decides to fall off a cliff again? He was only able to do it once in his life so far, where he was able to have a sub 3 ERA, let alone to have lower than a 3.91 ERA, which was his best ERA until his Cy Young year. Okay. So do I buy this for a full season? Absolutely not. But other than that, even if you disagree with me, you can get a lot for Dylan Cease. You can go out and get yourself a Grayson Rodriguez, probably. Actually, he'd be the best one. Grayson Rodriguez, and probably walk away with another piece. If you have an abundance of pitching and you need an upgrade at first, go out and try and trade him for trade for Matt Olson. Have Dylan Cease included in that deal. You actually will get that deal done. They'll be like, oh, can I get a little bit more? You do it, and it's over, done with. And you can get Matt Olson. When he bounces back, he's going to be way more valuable than Dylan Cease at that point. So trust me when I tell you, trade Dylan Cease. The biggest haul you can humanly get onto everybody here on this list is Dylan Cease. So go out there, trade him away now. All right, guys, we got a whole bunch of other guys that we're going to be trading away after this. We got Yu Darvish, Jared Jones, and so many more. So stick around. We'll be right back after this. You ever worry about what will happen to your family? God forbid something happens to you. If so, you need to check out Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. And trust me, guys, as a family man and as somebody that went through the process of trying to figure out what insurance to get, life insurance policy to get to protect my family, God forbid something happens, it is a time saver. It saves you a time and money so you can provide your family with financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million coverages. That's literally unheard of. So they could pull that out for you. Trust me, you're going to want to check out Policy Genius. Some options offer same day approval, other avoid unnecessary medical exams, which are super annoying. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is hands-on to help you talk through it all. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. What you may need to consider is your work life insurance policy may not be enough to protect your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policy Genius is unbiased advice from licensed expert support team. Have no incentives to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance, which is honestly something that you really can value because usually if there's a better incentive, even as a salesperson, they're going to try and push you to that. If there's an unbiased opinion, you're going to want to go with these guys and get the best advice possible. So check life insurance policies off your list, but in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonMLB or click the link in the description below for free life insurance quote and see how much you. That's policygenius.com/lockedonMLB. And honestly, I'm truly passionate about life insurance and protecting your family. I got a family, and you don't want to miss out and miss on something like this and then not having them protected at the end of the day. And that's the most important thing. So check out Policy Genius. All right, and guys, we're back. It's baseball time, and I promised we got a bunch of good names in Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish looking great this year, but am I buying it? Absolutely not. My guy's 37 years old. Okay, last year was fugly. Year before that, 2022 was pretty nice. 2021, 4.22 ERA. I don't like it. Now, one thing about him is he had in all those years he was kind of like bad was a K per nine. This year he's under K per nine. Now, obviously that'll probably return to the mean because that's something that just hasn't gone away over his whole career. But what I also am going to say is his ERA is going to return to norm too, and I think he's going to finish as a high 4 ERA guy and a high threes, low fours ERA. Now, I could be wrong, but at age 37, when you started to see that drop off and you had a bad season like this, I'm tend to feel the other way. So again, this is another guy that you can kind of get some people to reminisce. Now he has nowhere of the curb appeal of Dylan Cease because he's about 7 years older than Dylan Cease. So people are a little bit more weary of the older guys. So like Darvish still will pose some serious value, but at the same time, you're not going to get a super haul, but you're able to get him in and make him like a centerfold piece, but you're not going to be able to go out and get like everybody. Like I would do this for Jordan Montgomery straight up. Like you may say I'm crazy, but I would, like it's just one of those things. He may be even like somebody that can seal the deal on trying to go out to get Seager, who's another guy that's like pretty much performing not great right now. He could also just be a guy that's like puts the trade completely over the edge, helps you get that little extra piece you need, but also while kind of pushing the trade over the finish line as well. So like Yu Darvish is somebody I'm definitely trying to move right now, especially since he's performing the way he is. Let's move on. Let's talk Jared Jones. Jared Jones, Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher. He's looking good this year. I'm not going to lie. He's looking real good. His first year in the bigs, truthfully, and he's stepping out and doing his thing, right? 47 innings pitched. He has 56 strikeouts. He has an ERA of 2.68. He has a WHIP of 0.872. But here's the thing: his FIP, it's a whole ERA, a whole run higher. He's a 3.48 FIP. Field independent pitching. I didn't explain it, but essentially, it's what would your ERA be if you had an average defense behind you? So it's a little bit higher. You would have another run, ERA, have it higher, one more run in his stat line, which would give him another, a whole point higher in his ERA. And you look at his minor league track record at 3.85 ERA through last year. That's a little bit worse than what his FIP is now on the season, but still can totally see that happening when it gets to the 3.85, even a 4 ERA, which he's been in his career pretty much. Now, dude has some good stuffs, but the thing is, too, he's still young, has pitched quite a few innings in his career of 126 was being his season high, career high, but he's also, 22 years old, and he's only done 2 seasons pitching about 120 range. So here's the thing. How many innings are they gonna let him pitch? What, buck 30, buck 40 max? Maybe they just leave him the 126 or give him this of the 140 range. That means he's gonna get sent down at some point just to get a break and rest that arm, which tells you, hey, let's sell now. When he gets sent down, he's probably gonna get dropped. That's when you just pick him back up, and then he gets called back up, and then you pretty much got your player for free. So sell high on the guy right now that's performing and get the most out of him you can and go out there and get somebody. You get a Pittsburgh fan, they're going to probably pay a little bit more. You get somebody, anybody right now that's struggling with pitching, you probably can get a little bit. Like, it's not going to be a haul. You're going to have to put other pieces in, but you can go out there and get an upgrade or, fill your needs. So Jared Jones is one of those guys that didn't cost you really anything in the draft, if at all. So Jared Jones is somebody you definitely could walk away and trade and sell pretty nicely on and get a pretty penny for. And like I said, he'll probably get sent down and you'll probably be able to pick him back up again. So Jared Jones must trade. Let's talk about Salvador Perez. He's definitely playing pretty well. Perez is honestly a top pitcher this year, looking pretty fine. Not even gonna lie. My guy has 146 at bats, 16 runs, 9 doubles, 8 bombs, 33 ribs, 11 walks, 24 strikeouts, batting 329. Now, here's the thing. Dude's a 268 hitter. So clearly this is well above board. Last 2 years, he's hit 255, 254. So that's totally coming down. So there's a slump coming his way. Also, the last couple of years, too, he hasn't been able to hit higher than 23 home runs. So unless he's hitting the juice, I don't foresee this home run pace to stick up either. If anything, there's going to be a massive slump coming our way, which I feel is more likely than anything. So right now, I'm going to try and capitalize on it. He has catcher eligibility. People are struggling. People just lost Contreras. Go out there, trade him for high value, and see if you can get like a guy that like I kind of like that's underperforming at the catcher position, or just like anybody like a Logan O'Hoppe, just throw him in the trade or something who I think has some upside, and just dump Salvador Perez for a whole bunch because people will pay high for a catcher premium. So Salvador Perez is a must sell high candidate right now. So definitely trade him away ASAP and capitalize on that value. Let's sneak in this last guy here, Jeremy Pena. Pena has had a good season. Like, I love it. This is kind of what we were hoping for, after his big breakout year in 2022. Right now he's on a good pace. He has 153 at bats, 23 runs, 6 doubles, a triple, 4 bombs, 16 ribs, 6 stolen bases, 7 walks to 21 strikeouts, batting 340, an OBP of 384, a slug of 471, and an OPS of 855. All those numbers are fantastic. He's looking great in those regards. Now, here's the thing. Is it actually sustainable? Is this the breakout year? Well, this is his last year, in my opinion, so I would hope so. But here's the thing. I'm going to just trade him away so that I can capitalize on the young kind of upside play that people are going to want to grab on, because that's what we all are. We're crackheads for the young guys. I am too. I'm guilty of it all the time. And I'm going to try and go and get some vets or try and get a trade done. Look for a guy that's missing out on a shortstop or lost somebody and say, oh, dude, I got Pena. Let me get this dude that's underperforming and let's just, figure this out. And I guarantee you'll get that job done. Pena's performing enough where he's worth taking a shot on, and kind of like, especially like players that believe they're truthers for Pena are going to want to get their hands on him. So 100% they're mad they don't have him. So trade him away, capitalize on that on that hype and that possible, year too late bounce back player or breakout, and get Pena now and trade him away. Absolutely. So, guys, with that being said, thank you. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with Waiver Wire and Dom, hopefully. So, with that being said, guys, have a great night. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. If you have questions, leave them in the review section on Apple or on YouTube. And if you want share a post after today. Guys, with that being said, guys, have a great night. Peace.